YouTube vinyl community, Who fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to finally talk about the brand new Who album, Who, released through Polydor in 2019 at the very end of the year. This album was a long time coming and went through a lot of phases, ideas, eras, if you will, of will it come out, will it won't come out, what's it going to be called, is there a story to it. There was a lot happened before this album finally got released. To what it actually ended up being. So, long story short, let's go back to Endless Wire in 2006. And when that came out, I was so incredibly stoked because that was the first new Who album in my lifetime. And I remember buying it the day it came out, October 30th, 2006. I went to Best Buy because they had a Best Buy exclusive edition. I was so stoked, and I really enjoyed that album a lot. I thought it was really good. Part of it was, wow, a new Who album in my lifetime. This is great. The other part was there's some really good, great tracks on here. I saw them on that tour. They played a lot of that stuff live. It was a cool time to be a Who fan. And then fairly soon after, around like 2008 or so, 2009, we started to hear about this thing called Floss. And Pete was talking about how it might be this project called Floss. And, it never took off because a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be about dentistry. Like, why the hell would he write an opera about being a dentist or brushing your teeth? Who knows? But I think it was around that time. I could be wrong. So if you're watching this, correct me if I got the years wrong. Time starts to blur after a while. But we heard about Floss for a while. Nothing happened, but we knew it was going to be some sort of multi-staged project between either a film and a book and a record. There was going to be a multi-processed, multi-layered kind of process here. And it never materialized. And in 2012, Pete's autobiography came out, which was very cool to read that. And there was a tiny bit of information about where the Who might go. And during all this time, they never stopped touring. They brought back Quadrophenia. Pete did the classic Quadrophenia. Roger put out his solo album. He did an album with Wilco Johnson. They've been busy this whole time. And then in the last couple of years, Pete, I guess, just got inspired to write a new Who album. And everything on the album is like a fairly recent song beyond the demo, not the demo tracks, but the bonus stuff that's on here. And I couldn't be more stoked about it. I absolutely love this album. It shows them going into some different territory, which is great. The mark of a good band is that they're willing to take a risk, even this late in their career. Who knows if this is going to be the last album? They might put out some more. Who knows? But for what this is, as it exists, is a fantastic album. If you didn't hear Endless Wire, pick it up. But this is great. This definitely picks up where they were in the 70s. Obviously, it's not the same band. Obviously, John and Keith aren't there. So if you grew up with them in the 60s and 70s, give it a try. Obviously, it's a different band. It's a different group of guys playing with Pete and Roger, calling themselves the Who. So, don't just knock it because it's new and because it's not the 70s anymore. Like, give it a try. I think you might really dig it. And there's a lot of lyrical content on here. Obviously, Pete's one of the best lyricists of all time, but he's still sharp. His songs are still catchy, witty, fun. It's definitely a unique listen and a very good addition to their discography. And a great way to say, hey, we're still a band in 2019. We're still current. We're still with it. We're not just a bunch of old relic dinosaurs, even though they talk about being old guys now. They prove that they can still run with it just like anybody else can because it's the freaking Who, man. Come on. The album opens with All This Music Must Fade, which is an absolutely awesome song. I mean, it starts off with the line, I don't care, I know you're going to hate this song. I mean, what a way to start an album, And lyrically, it's about rock and roll music. It's about pop music and how, in some degree, it doesn't matter. It's just a song. It's going to fade away someday. On the other hand, you might take it for what it is and kind of use those words towards your life. So that's how you use music, and Pete's always written about how he used music. So it's cool to have a modern track where he kind of references that feeling and that mentality. But there's a lot of instruments on this thing to kind of flesh it out, and Roger is just on fire on this song. And he's on fire on this whole album, but on this track in particular, the way it starts, I mean, the way he rips through the chorus, the way the drums just pound away in the background on those toms. Pete's background vocals are fantastic. The whole thing sounds lively. There's nothing tired or old about this. If you put this on 20 years ago, you would have thought it sounded like The Who 20 years ago. I mean, it just sounds like a bunch of people who are hungry. And when you have people who are hungry for creating art, that's what makes good art. There's nothing worse than hearing a band get in the studio just to make an album, or like just to fill a contractual obligation. Like, that is so boring. It's so boring, and it shows, and they wear it on their sleeve, and you can tell when someone doesn't care and they're phoning it in. This is not a band phoning it in. This is a band making a piece of work, and I love it. That opening song just rocks hard, man. All this music was said. Ball and Chain. This song's been around for a while. It was called Guantanamo at one point. Pete did a solo version of it on one of his greatest hits albums. Then it was called Big Cigars as they were playing it live. And then the final title, Ball and Chain. So I really love the hypnotic piano riff on this thing. Roger careens into this thing like a pissed off stampede of aggression. I absolutely love that. The effects, the ripping guitars, the thunderous drums, the powerful background vocals. It's a total Who classic. It really is. It's a groove. I love the rock and outro with the synths. Yeah, I mean, it just slams the whole way through, and it sounds like The Who now, which is exactly what they're going for. It sounds like The Who in 2019. This is great. Very interesting song. I Don't Want to Get Wise. I mean, this song is almost ironic in that the whole thing kind of sounds like a message of like wisdom, being bestowed upon the listener of like, look, here's what we did. You probably shouldn't do that. I don't want to get preachy and wise, but this is what happened, kind of thing. It's really upbeat. It's really lively. It's full of. It's got a very youthful feel to it, and it's a very positive song. So, and I like that you can tell this was one of the ones that Roger kind of changed some of the lyrics around. Roger got these songs because he recorded them in a different studio. When he got these demos, at first, he barely even responded to Pete about it because he's like, this is a really good Pete Townsend solo album. I don't know what I can do with this. And so he had to like sit with these songs for a while before he can like really take them in and make them his own. And he did have to change some of the tenses from like I to us or you or things like that to make it more relatable for him and also for the audience. So I like that collaborative effort there because it shows the guys working together, which is really, really cool because we all know the history of these two, and it's nice to see them kind of working together for a common goal, knowing that the ultimate result in the end would make for a really good listening experience. But yeah, I love the acoustic guitars on this one. The layering, again. One thing The Who has always been amazing at is layering, and there's so many layers to so many of their songs that you can kind of get lost looking at what's in there, because there's always an acoustic guitar buried into a Who track somewhere. But yeah, it's definitely, for a song called I Don't Want to Get Wise, it's definitely a song about wisdom. Detour, this song is so fun. The jumping drums and the bass on this thing are so cool. Roger sounds better than ever. The gritty guitars that play along this thing, it almost sounds like a modern day version of Relay or something. It's very cool. The bass harmonica is great. It's super catchy. The breaks in this thing are fun. There's moments where it's a bit loungy and spacey, and then it comes back to this, gargantuan rock sound again. It just proves that they can do it. That they're not old. Like, they can really rock, and they can still bring it. Just like it's been this whole time. I mean, I think it helps that they're always on top of themselves because they've been playing live so much. But, they're just a tight group. Bringing some really cool songs together. Beads on One String is the next track on here. And a lot of people have kind of like dogging this song, saying it's too peaceful and too hippie. And it's like, did you ever hear Tommy? I mean, like, see me, feel me, touch me, heal me. Did you hear Tommy? I mean, a lot of the stuff on, Who's Next? I mean, that 1972 era. I mean, Let's See Action, Let's See People. Like, Pete's written hippie songs before. This isn't the first time. And I like the message of this song. The world we're in is a pretty fractured state. So music is one of the best ways to unite people and get them together. What's wrong with that, man? We're all just beads on one string, as they say. So I love it. I love the hand claps. I love how Pete is vocally really present on this one. And Roger sounds amazing. I mean, the whole song is kind of dancey. It's got this magical synth in the background. I like the key change. Um, it's an anthemic type of song. I really hope it's a single, to be honest with you. I can really see this being on the radio. I think it's got a lot of potential behind it. So I really dig this song. And then Hero Ground Zero, this is the name of the band from The Age of Anxiety, the book that Pete just came out with last fall as well, which I'm currently reading right now. It's been really good. So this to me is like total classic strumming. I love the string section on this thing. It's a very triumphant kind of string sound. The flutes are really cool. Roger's voice, again, just shines like ever. I like the journey you get taken on with this thing. So really digging that track as well. Street Song. This is an interesting one. It's kind of more of a tougher vibe, for lack of a better term. It's got a longing to it. It's definitely more of a proud, kind of powerful song. And a little bit of it sounds like fragments from Endless Wire, which I think is cool. But lots of background synths, jangly, chimey guitars, really steady drums. Not my favorite song on the album, but I really do dig it. I'll Be Back. This one's really cool. Pete sings this one. I love the Stevie Wonder inspired harmonica in the intro, but Pete's vocals on this one take you to like a whole different time. It's also like his voice never changed either. It's like you're listening to something from the 80s. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I like this sort of dry, tight production on this one. I mean, the lyrics are just wonderful. They're all about love. Pete's rap in the middle, I think, is great. If you can call it a rap. It's a cool combination of chords on this one that make it really unique, and it sticks out on this album for sure because it's not a big rocker, but it's one of those songs where you hear it and you're like, wow, he still got it. He can write some really unique stuff. So that's why I kind of wish they've been putting out more music. I wish that Pete would put out more solo albums. I mean, I know it's a big obligation to get behind that kind of thing and do it, but maybe it's good that we have this giant buildup of like absolutely excellent tracks, not like a bunch of albums where like it's hit or miss here and there. So who knows? Break the News. Simon wrote this song. Simon Townsend, Pete's brother, wrote this one, and apparently he wrote like a bunch of songs for this album. And he was like, "Hey, I really think this one's good. I think this one's good." And the other guys kept turning it down. And then Roger heard this one. He was like, "I think I can do that one really well." And Simon was kind of taken aback, like, "Wow, that's the one you want to do? Okay." But it's a great song. It really is cool. I love the catchy refrain. I love the production. The range in Roger's voice is awesome. The synth work at the end is pretty dizzying but fun. It's a catchy song. It's got a really nice hook to it. I like the soul that it kind of expresses. Just a really digging that track. The last two songs of this album are very, very interesting. Rockin' in Rage, I love the lyrics on here, and it's definitely got like a bit of a desperate vibe to it, where it's kind of like it knows something's up. And the something's up, I think, would just be the guys accepting their age. It mentions sort of being a bit older, and Rogers even talked about it, how he's not like this tough dude that he used to be. He's like, a good gust of wind can knock me down these days. He's 75 years old or whatever he is. But I don't believe it for a second, man. I mean, this song rocks like crazy. You get the big chunky riffs. You get the big explosive chorus. The drums are pounding away. It's got anxiety riddled all over this thing, proving that like they have something to fight for. They got a reason to write this song and perform it. They got a reason to show off that they're still the Who. This song I feel like is really, really important in their career, to prove that the guys who once sang, "I hope I die before I get old," which is of course about a mentality. This is almost like a sequel to that, where it's like, look, physically, yeah, we're a bit up there, but mentally, I doubt they feel like they're old mentally. Maybe they do. I can't speak for them, but this song for me feels like they're fighting time in a sense. And then She Rocked My World. This is such a unique song. I love how weird it is, and I like that it ends the album. What a bizarre track. And Roger was really stoked on this one as well, and I totally get it. I mean, for him to hear him sing these like really cool, sly, kind of bluesy vocals takes them back to the early days for sure. The piano noodling sounds like something Mike Garson would have done, with the early Bowie stuff in the 70s. Um, I really enjoy this song because it shows that they're not just resting on their laurels. They can go out and write a big chunky guitar riff and a bunch of crazy drums, and Roger could scream his ass off, and then you have a Who song. But to take something totally different and completely unexpected and end the album with it is a ballsy move, man. I really, really think it's cool. I like how it's got kind of a soft ending, but I like that it's just so different. I like that it's a whole other texture that they don't normally play with to show that, hey, maybe there's more to come, or hey, we want to try to shake it up a bit. Yeah, it's called The Who, but let's do something different. Here's the back cover. And this thing was released on multiple formats. I wrote down a list at one point a little while ago, and there was at least 7 or 8 versions that I was able to count. There was the standard CD, the Target exclusive. There was the record. There was a picture disc version. There was a signed copy of the CD. There's the cassette tape. There's another one I'm missing. There was a digipack version which came from like a magazine or something in Britain. Yeah, really hard to keep up with. But this version I got here is the one from the Who's website, which I ordered a long time ago, like back in September or October, whenever it was announced. And it took for bloody ever to get here. I think someone forgot to put it in the box. And then one day I emailed them and I was like, hey, where's my record, dude? It came like 2 days later. So thank you to Universal for really getting this thing out there fast to me after I asked them about it. But came in really good shape. And I've got the cassette here too. Haven't opened this yet. I will. It has the Dolby logo at the bottom. I don't know if that's real, because Dolby hasn't licensed their stuff out for cassettes in a very long time. So, if there really is Dolby on it, I'll be shocked. But they made it look like the old school 70s cassettes, which I thought was really cool. And I've got the CDs, but they're over there, and you guys know what CDs look like. This version comes with a 45 of a song called Sand, which is very, very cool. The CDs come with a couple extra tracks as well. It comes with the song Danny. Oh my god, I can't think of that. The other 60s song. Wow, I should have wrote those two down. But there's a 60s demo on there. Got Nothing to Prove, I think it's called. Which is kind of like a James Bondy kind of song. And Pete, I guess, presented it to the band at the time. And either Keith Lambert or the band didn't like it. So he kind of put it on the shelf and was going to give it to somebody else, but then it just kind of sat there forever. And the other couple of tracks are slightly newer ones. But Sand, let me show you what the records look like first. That way we know what we're doing here. But the inside cover is very cool. I love that. Love that. Peter Blake did the artwork for this. Of course, Peter Blake, who did the Sgt. Pepper cover. He did that Paul Weller album cover. Looks a lot like this one. But great shot of the guys in there. Such a cool picture. Then you got the name of the songs with the credits on the back. And disc 1 is on a very nice light blue vinyl with the old school Polydor label there. So I mean, the packaging on this thing is really some top-notch stuff, and the inside even has color stripes on the inside of the jacket as well. It's not just plain white, which I always think is very cool. I think you kind of get like a more well cared for product at that point. So this one just says Who on one side, and I love this how they add like albums for your collection. You never see that anymore. You never get an album that promotes the rest of their albums, and they even got Endless Wire down there, where it says the name of the songs on there too. So it's even got like a worn kind of look from being played. But yeah, very, very cool. And this disc is white. A very, very bright white. This is like stark, super creamy milk white. So that looks very cool. And the records sound fantastic. They really do. But what I was getting to earlier is the bonus track that's available only from this LP, the Who version, the Who.com version, with a track called Sand. And this is on red vinyl with nothing on the label. Plain white label. This side is just completely blank. It's just one song on side 1 for Sand. And it does say Sand Demo 1965 written in the dead wax there. This came to be, I want to say this came to be because in early 2019, a acetate demo sold at auction for like 3,000 pounds or something of the original version of the song, which is basically Pete and a guitar. And then this version, which I love a lot, is basically like a newer version of the song with, you know, added guitars, there's drums, there's bass. It's a fully fleshed out song. And Pete kind of recorded it to make it sound like it would have sounded in the 60s with The Who. So it sounds of its time if the band had done it that way. So this should have been on the album. This is the best bonus track out of any of them that I've heard. This song was a total knockout. I absolutely loved it. And I can't believe management thought this wasn't going to be a good song for them in the 60s. Like, who was sleeping on the job for that one? Because it really is an awesome, awesome track. I mean, it sounds like The Who back then, but knowing that Pete did it all himself is pretty cool. So, that's it. Super long video, but I really had to talk about this thing because I have loved this album since the day it came out. I've been playing it nonstop. I like hearing The Who now. I like knowing they put out a new album in 2019, and that I've been around for 2 of these albums now in my lifetime, which is absolutely phenomenal. So I'll take it. So The Who, 10 out of 10 for Who 2019. I know that sounds crazy to say that, but every song is unique. Every song sounds a bit different from the other. The lyrical content, the fact that they made an album together, everything about this thing sounds like a band that's hungry and wants to prove that they can make an amazing album this far into their career. So good on you, Who, and keep making more stuff like this because this is amazing. This is great work, and I absolutely love it. So 10 out of 10 from me, Giggens, here on Giggens TV. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. The Who, 10 out of 10, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.